I don't have that much of a problem, do I? Do I have a problem buying comics? Alright. So, I guess show off that. Alright. Welcome to today's video, and welcome to my page. If you are new to my page, I am the Dollar Bin Diver, and as my name suggests, I hunt for comic books in dollar bins, 50-cent bins, and really any kind of discount bin. Today I am changing it up because I have a rather massive haul of comics that I have acquired from various live sales on Facebook. These are primarily from a vendor named Kirby's Comics. I will try to show a graphic or something of Kirby's here since this haul is pretty much all from his live sales. Maybe I can also put his information into the details of this video. Alright, let's start off though with a few of these comics. Here is The Man Called Nova. He's here, the ultimate superhero. I can't hide the truth any longer. Richard Rider is Nova. I actually do not collect the Nova comics as heavy, but I have to admit, Kevin Feige's interviews mentioning Nova will become a character in the MCU has kind of piqued my interest on this character, so I had to grab this one. As far as my pricing and the average price on my comics from these live sales, I do not know my actual average right off, but I do know I get some really good deals from Kirby, and I will bet you that I have paid below average price on these comics. I was quite pleased with the prices I've paid in the past, as well as all of these here. But moving on here, I have Fantastic Four issue number 270. I actually do not know if there's any key significance to this issue. This was filling in a gap for me. And it was at a fair price, possibly in a bundle, because I have here Fantastic Four issue number 2. This is Heroes Return. I want to say this is from volume 3 of the Fantastic Four. Lobdell is the author there. Okay, going to change it up, going back a little bit. Here is Marvel Team Up featuring Spider-Man and Deathlock. Frenzy in the not-so-distant future. The battle you demanded. The Web-Slinger versus the Demolisher. I know Deathlock is kind of a not as popular of a character, but for me, I've just enjoyed Deathlock as a character. I have, I believe, a completed run of his mini run, as well as his full run in the 90s. And I've collected a couple other shorter runs of Deathlock. I don't know, it's an interesting character. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? I guess it depends on the story. Alright, I want to go ahead and change pace for a moment, and I'm going to mention my bourbon of choice. Today, that will be the Elijah Craig Small Batch. I know I've highlighted this one in the past, but it's worth noting again. This is the 94 proof, and worth noting the history of the Elijah Craig, known as the father of bourbon. As you can see on the label there, first to char oak barrels. And if you're into the history of bourbon and the definition of bourbon and all of that, the big significance, it is worth noting that the Elijah Craig has a great history in all of that. I'm going to do just a small sample today, but perhaps I will go over the some of the historical elements later on. Today we have quite a haul, and I'm going to try to speed through them. Nice color there. A little darker. A little darker than some. Alright. Of course, that oak, the oaky smell comes out in this one. I'm never the best at giving the notes of scent from these bourbons, but it has just some nice rich flavor there. And for a 94 proof, still fairly smooth. Alright, how about I speed on through? Moving on here, we have Web of Spider-Man, issue number 93, Hobgoblin Reborn, part 1. Guest starring Moon Knight. And this came as a batch, I do believe. Here is issue 94 of Hobgoblin Reborn, part 2. So, Moon Knight, Ghost Riders, Hag and Troll. I'm not for sure on this. I have not got to read these yet, so I may be in for some fun treats. Oh, and a cameo appearance by Venom. Always nice to get consecutive issues to complete some of these reading orders, because I do enjoy reading my comics, obviously, right? Moving on to the main run of Spider-Man that I enjoy collecting. This is Peter Parker, The Spectacular Spider-Man, issue number 17 from 1978. And also, I was able to get issue number 21. I believe these run a lot together. I don't know that these two stories connect, but it's always nice filling in gaps with issues that are close together. Alright, I have a few more Spectacular Spider-Man here to continue with. Jumping way on into the numbering, there is issue 111, as well as 113. I just enjoy that little era with the black suit. I don't know, the artwork was fun, and some of the stories are interesting. I'm excited. I'm kind of curious to see about this one. What kind of vengeance happens upon this guy. Alright, here's issue 122. Another awesome cover there with a black suit. So, and I do not know much about this other character here, but perhaps I will learn more within the pages. Alright, how about a couple more Spidey here? This is The Amazing Spider-Man, Web of Death, part 3 of 4. This is issue 398 in that legacy run. So even if Spidey wins, he's a dead man. Alright, now moving on to, I believe this is Dan Slott's run on The Amazing Spider-Man. This is issue number 8 from that run. Spider-Girl's Last Stand. This is, I guess, part of the Edge of Spider-Verse event or whatever. I don't know as much on this run. I tend to try to stay with the legacy. This came in a lot of some Spider-Man comics there. And honestly, I like the cover there. I'm not sure what's going on with the story, but perhaps I will try to jump into it and see if it's worth completing that run. Alright, let me set these off to the side, get started with the next one. While I'm doing that, feel free to give that like button a press. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Alright, moving on with Captain America, issue number 330. Demolition Man cracks up. I just really enjoyed this cover. I believe I don't believe I had this comic before, and so it was filling in a little gap there, but this cover was just a great one for me. Looks like Demolition Man within a Wolverine costume, facing off with Cap. So, all right. Moving on to Tales to Astonish, starring the Submariner, Namor versus the Human Torch. And I believe this is the first true Human Torch, not our Fantastic Four Human Torch. But this should be an interesting one. I do enjoy some of these, I guess, reprint of sort titles. I'm trying to remember if Tales has some original stories in there or if it was all reprints. I know there are reprinted titles within there. So this being from, I believe, 1978, 79? Or, 1980. Yes, I'll go ahead and zoom in there for a moment. So, kind of some bronze reprints of original silver titles. Right, speaking of silver, here is the Silver Surfer. Fantasy masterpieces. I want to say some of these are reprints as well from original stories, but I believe there are some original stories within as well. I don't know as much on fantasy masterpieces as I do some of these other titles. But Heir of Frankenstein, though, could be an interesting story. All right, back into the legacy numbering though for Silver Surfer. I believe this is volume 2, issue number 98. This is part 4 of 4 of the Down to Earth event, and guest starring the Fantastic Four and the Incredible Hulk. I know this was filling a gap. I don't know if I have the other issues prior to this though, so I may be waiting before I jump into that read. And a little later into that run is issue 145. And Who Shall Inherit the Universe? Alright, let's move on though. It's such a large stack to The Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Mystic Hammer, Brute Force, Hex Power, nothing can save you. You are doomed like rats in the death trap of Taurus. And many of these were good deals. As you can tell, this is a little more of a reader copy, but an early Avengers such as this, and for the price that I most likely paid for it, I think I'm okay with that. Okay, much later into the Avengers run, here is issue 279. Who Will Lead the Avengers? Honestly, just really enjoy that cover. I may have already had this comic, but it was one of those covers I just wanted an extra copy of. Alright. And there was an extra comic with it. This is Gambit 2. This is the Hellfire Gala variant edition. I don't think I was collecting this run on Gambit, but a nice little extra to have in there. Speaking of Gambit, here is Gambit and the Externals. This is issue number 1. Enter now the Age of Apocalypse. May actually have another issue or two within this run, but I did not have issue 1, so that is nice. Maybe I can give this a read and see what I think, if it's worth continuing collecting those. Okay, moving on into the Uncanny X-Men. This is issue number 320, Legion Quest 1, part 1 of 4, that is. Legion is a character I'm actually interested in reading more about. I was reading a synopsis on Legion and his abilities and personalities. So perhaps this would be a great place to start off with that. Moving back to issue 198 of the Uncanny X-Men, Life, Death 2. And this is a nice Claremont issue here. Great artwork. I'm assuming the story is going to be pretty interesting as well. I do believe I have a few other issues around this, so perhaps I have that completed event there and a good consecutive story. Alright, here is issue number 238. I am kind of bouncing around a little on my numbering today, but that's okay, right? Alright, I believe these came in a lot, so again, I'm not for sure what my average price was, but I know I paid a very nice, fair price. Right. Moving on with The Astonishing X-Men. This is issue number 7. I actually am not collecting this run. I do believe I have a few issues in this run, though. So, this will maybe create a good consecutive run there, and I can give that a good read. Moving on, though. Here is Marvel Presents Guardians of the Galaxy. This is issue number 9. Beginning the origin of Starhawk. Well, that's nice, because I do not know as much about Starhawk, so I guess I can start off with the origin there, can I? Savagery and science collide. Planet of the Barbarians. This has some of the original Guardians. Not as many of the Guardians that we know from the MCU right now. So this should be a fun read. Okay, and moving on here with Marvel Premiere featuring the Torpedo. Again, another character I do not collect as much on, but I do enjoy a lot of this bronze, some of these bronze stories and this artwork. And who knows, some of these characters could find their way to the MCU and get highlighted more, but that's all just for fun. Alright, this is the big one. All explosive issue. Because You Demanded It, Marvel's greatest new hero in his first feature-length, action-packed saga. So this was issue 39 of Marvel Premiere, and I was able to get issue 40 in that lot there. You Rocketeers, stay back. When it comes to handling novice superheroes, I don't need any help. Senses shattering climax battle with the big man. I don't know anything about that character as well, but this will be fun to have two consecutive issues in this run. Perhaps a neat story to continue with that. So, moving on here, kind of a random comic, but Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe again. I actually don't have any more of this run yet, but for the price I got it, I figured I had to grab it. Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. I've read digitally, and it is a wild ride. So I figured if he's going to do it again, why not see what happens? Alright, moving on to a few what if. This is issue number 62. What if Wolverine battled Weapon X? And that's just a great cover there, of course. Seeing Weapon X and Wolverine, obviously. This one I am actually quite intrigued to jump into. Moving on here is issue number 69. What if Strife killed the X-Men? I honestly have not got to read the event with Strife yet, so I may wait on reading this one just to get a good feel of who the character is and what actually happened before I ask what if. Alright, now what if Captain America had formed the Avengers? This one I'm actually quite excited to read. Obviously I'm a big Captain America fan, so when he's highlighted, of course my attention is a little more piqued there. And this is issue 29 in the 90s run of What If. Alright. Now we have The Mighty Thor, issue 452. Not even Thor will stop the justice of Blood Axe. Obviously a 90s character who may have not made it too far out of the 90s. But still yet, it filled in a gap that I had. And still the artwork and some of the stories, I can't remember if this was when it was Chris Masterson as Thor, not the true Thor Odinson or not, but I will have to add it in with my collection and give it a read soon. Alright, speaking of some 90s goodness, might as well show off the shiny a little bit here. Alright, this is The Secret Defenders, issue number 1. Doctor Strange, Wolverine, Nomad, Darkhawk, and Spider-Woman. I actually have read this, and a good chunk of the issues in that short run. And for me, as a 90s kid, it's a fun read. It's quite nostalgic. I have also collected Nomad and Darkhawk. I believe I have those runs just about from the 90s, just about completed. So this is a nice to add into my collection. Moving on to another title here. This is Invincible Iron Man, issue number 6. This is from Bendis's run. All new story. The War Machine starts now. That's just an awesome cover there with War Machine. What else can I say? Now, continuing with that War Machine theme. This is a lenticular. I don't know if that will show up on screen too well, but let's see if we can give it a nice little. Alright, so that is issue 282 and 218 of War Machine and Iron Man, respectively. So that's a nice little comic just to have to get to read both of those, and just an awesome cover there. Hopefully that's showing up well on the camera. Alright, moving on to my next title. Actually, back into Thor. This is from Donny Cates' run. This is issue number 17 and legacy number 743. Yeah, if you have watched any of my videos prior, you have probably noticed that I am actually quite a fan of Donny Cates as a new comic author. I don't read many of the new comics, but what I have read of Donny Cates' stories, I have really enjoyed, and I tend to gravitate towards them more. So when I'm able to find some of his books, for a good price, and that I don't already have, I have to grab them. Alright, so continuing with the Cates theme, this is Web of Venom, Wraith, issue number 1. I don't recall if this was a one issue run or if there were a couple. I have read all of Venom by Cates digitally, and now I am retroactively trying to collect as many of those as I can in hard in paper. And of course this cover, that's just an awesome cover, as many of the Venom were, many of those were. Alright, here is issue 22, Legacy 187. This is Venom Island, part 2. And just a great cover. No crazy action with the character on the cover, but kind of a foreshadowing of things to expect, I guess, within the story. Alright, now back to the classic. Our hero on the cover, swinging through the city, terrifying those that are with him. This is issue number 26, Legacy 191. This is a third printing, but it's a great cover there. moving on to my last Venom issue for tonight. This is number 27, and as you can see there, Venom Beyond Part 2. Alright, let me pull these off to the side. The last of my issues here is Marvel Triple Action. This is issue number 32, Suddenly the Submariner. I need to go ahead and inventory which ones of these are reprints of which issues from Avengers and such, but I have not. These are awesome, I believe, Bronze Age printed, but they reprint from Silver Age stories. And it's an easier way to get to read some of those stories in paper. Alright, so speaking of, here is The Mighty Thor starring in Marvel Spectacular, The People Breeders. I believe this reprints the first appearance of the High Evolutionary. And as you see at the bottom, the hideous High Evolutionary breeds people like cattle, and the Thunder God is next. This comic right now, as speculation for Guardians of the Galaxy is peaking and excitement for the movie is rising, the original printing for this story is well beyond the funds of a dollar bin diver. But this is just a great issue right there. Continuing with The Mighty Thor, here is issue number 8, The Thunder God and the Troll. At last, the immortal Avenger battles a foe as powerful as Thor himself, introducing Olek. And if you've read any of Thor, you know he does return and many times in various stories. Alright, continuing with issue number 16. Odin, my father, why have you forsaken me, abandoned on earth? Can this be the end of the God of Thunder? Alright, and my last issue for tonight. Here is issue number 19 from the Marvel Spectacular. Wind strikes the wrecker. Mine is the power supreme, Thunder God, and it will bury you. Alright, great covers there. Alright, I'm going to stack these up and show off this massive haul. And these were from various live sales that Kirby did. So I like to tell myself that I didn't do too bad. This was maybe accumulated over a month or so. So that's not too bad, right? I don't have that much of a problem, do I? Do I have a problem buying comics? Alright. So I guess I need to adjust my camera slightly here. Alright, well, I thank you for watching. I'm going to go enjoy this bourbon. I'm going to enjoy these comics. Please like, subscribe. Thank you for watching. Have a great one.